Hi Leanne, how are you today?
Hi Craig, I'm well thanks, hope you are too.
Yes, thank you so much, I'm very well. How's your baby giraffe? Have you been able to see whether it's male or female yet?
The baby is getting stronger every day, but I have not yet get close enough to see the gender. The parents are very protective.
Excellent. Please let me know when you do. Today, I thought we could consider what land management means in your environment. And by the end of the lesson, I would like you to be comfortable writing your first draft of that chapter for your training manual. I see that you've received the vocabulary list and have gone through the words. Let's go through them all once more. Can you read them to me, please?
Of course. Conservationist, someone who cares for and maintains the natural space. Soil erosion, the topsoil removed by wind and rain. Overgrazing, having too many herbivores grazing a confined space. Water drainage, natural or man-made water course for storm water. Herbivore, an animal that eats plant material. Grazer, an animal that eats grass. Browser, an animal that eats leaves. Vegetation, plant material. Denude, removal of plant material.
Thanks, Leanne. That was very, very good. Do you have any questions about the meaning of the words?
No, I understand them all, but would like to ask how to use the word denude.
Excellent. The word means the removal of all vegetation. In the context of a nature reserve, could you suggest a sentence? What could remove all vegetation?
The fire will denude the field.
Absolutely. Well done. Could extreme overgrazing also denude an area?
Yes, it certainly could.
Very, very good. Okay. As you are going to be compiling and presenting this material, let's do a role play where I will be your student and I'll ask you some questions. Could you please explain the difference between the words herbivore, grazer, and browser?
A herbivore is a description of all animals that eat only plant material, while grazers eat grass and herbivores eat leaves.
Browsers eat leaves.
Browsers.
Not to worry.
Sorry.
Could you please list the grazers and browsers that you have in your reserve?
Our giraffes and kudus are browsers, and zebra, impala, wildebeest, blesbok, bushbuck, inyala, and great duiker are grazers.
Excellent. Tell me, what in a nutshell is soil erosion?
Soil erosion is the removal and loss of the top two levels of soil due to wind and rainwater, drainage into dams and rivers. Soil erosion can also be linked to continued overgrazing. This topsoil is the carrier of nutrients required for the sustained growth of plants. The loss of nutrients-rich soil caused the reduction and equivalent denuding of vegetation from affected areas.
Wow, that's interesting. Very, very well done. Okay. Tell me, how can one manage soil erosion? You can't very well stop the wind from blowing or the rain from falling.
Erosion can be managed by conserving the plant material in an area. The roots bind the soil and prevent it from being blown away by the wind or washed away by stormwater. The thunderstorms in our area are heavy, so the creation of and maintenance of multiple small culverts that lead stormwater off roads can reduce the impact of massive amounts of water being vented from roads at a single point.
Excellent. I understand that you do not have predators in your reserve that would naturally reduce numbers. How do you control the number of herbivores in your nature reserve?
Capture and relocation of surplus animals is the best option, but can be costly. Controlled hunting, also called culling, can be used, and there could be some financial benefits to the reserve.
Excellent. Please tell me about tannin poisoning.
When browsers eat leaves and twigs from trees and branches, the plant responds by producing additional tannin in the plant material. This makes the leaves bitter to taste. It is a type of defense mechanism that prevents the animals browsing at one plant only. The more animals browsing on only a few plants, for example in a small paddock, the higher the levels of tannin rises, and the more tannin is ingested by the animals. If this overgrazing is not corrected, some or all the animals will die of tannin poisoning.
Thanks, Leanne. That's scary, isn't it? Okay, your answers have all been well thought through. Very, very good. Could you read the prepared article on Ian Player for me, please?
Certainly. Ian Cedric Player was a South African environmental educator, conservationist, sportsman, and activist, widely known for saving the white rhino from extinction through Operation Rhino. Ian Player received his education at St. John's College, Johannesburg, and served with the 6th South African Armed Division attached to the American 5th Army in Italy from 1944 to 1946. Ian Player is a brother of the world-renowned Grand Slam golfer Gary Player. Dr. Player has a long and successful career in environmental conservation and has inspired many who continue his legacy today by working to save endangered species and natural spaces.
Very well done. Could you please read the second passage about Lawrence Anthony?
Lawrence Anthony was an acclaimed conservationist and international best-selling author. He received the United Nations Earth Day Medal for his work in Baghdad. He is the author of 3 books: Babylon's Ark, The Incredible Wartime Rescue of Baghdad Zoo, The Elephant Whisperer, The Extraordinary Story of One Man's Battle to Save His Herd, and The Last Rhino, The Powerful Story of One Man's Battle to Save the Species. The Elephant Whisperer. When South African conservationist Lawrence Anthony was asked to accept a herd of rogue wild elephants on his Tula Tula Game Reserve in Zululand, his common sense told him to refuse. But he was the herd's last chance to survive. They would be killed if he wouldn't take them. In order to save their lives, Anthony took them in. In the years that followed, he became a part of their family. And as he battled to create a bond with the elephants, he came to realize that they had a great deal to teach him about life, loyalty, and freedom. The Elephant Whisperer is a heartwarming, exciting, funny, and sometimes sad account of Anthony's experience with these huge yet sympathetic creatures. Set against a background of life on Africa game reserves, with unforgettable creatures, exotic wildlife, it is a delightful book that will appeal to animal lovers and adventurous souls anyway.
Again, very well done. Very, very good. The next passage is about Hanlie Prinsloo, who is a freediving champion. Hanlie's underwater encounters with whales and other deep-sea creatures deepened her desire to take care of the oceans, and she wanted others to experience this connection as well. This drive led to the founding of I Am Water as a South African non-profit organization in 2010. Could you read her story for us, please, Leanne?
Certainly. What if you could hold your breath for the whole 6 minutes? For freediving ocean warrior Hanlie Prinsloo, diving 65 meters into the deep blue ocean is like coming home. But what if, as Hanlie believes, we all have that untapped ability to do this? Sounds crazy, it may not be crazy as you think. And if you would, what secrets lie waiting to be discovered in the deep world of the blue? Heidi's relationship with the water can only be described as a love story. I listened as she tells, giggling at a childhood spent perfecting mermaid language and willing her hands and feet to transform into fins and flippers. Have you ever wondered what swimming with a whale shark is like? With wonder in her eyes, Heidi described it as staring into the starry skies. Other of her best love experience is gliding through the water with manta rays, big, elegant, graceful creatures that flip up their wings to let you pass by. As Heidi speaks, I am overwhelmed by this whole other world, carried away into this exciting, seemingly perfect realm of being at one with the ocean. It is a place that I know so little of. Her descriptions are vivid and intimate, and I can't help but to be a little jealous. Yet something is stirring within me, and I am determined to learn more. Of all ocean creatures, it is the turtles that captured my curiosity the most. Perhaps this comes from watching video clips of the tiny newborns waddling their way to the ocean. It amazed me that being so little, they know exactly which direction to go in and persevere through the shoreline's waves with such bravery. Staring into the eyes of the turtles is like greeting an old wise soul, said Hundley. I find this hardly surprising, since we know that turtles have inhabited the planet for more than 150 million years, the date of the oldest turtle fossil found. Can you imagine being able to listen to the stories of a 100-year-old turtle that has been spent a lifetime journeying the world's oceans? Hartley also describes swimming with sperm whales. They are very intelligent. They make many different sounds in the water. Sometimes I hear them talking to each other back and forth as if gossiping about the squad. And then my heart starts pounding because one of them is looking over me. There is nothing as unnerving as being scanned by a whale, inspecting you with a ticking sound. I know that they can feel my presence, so I repeat over and over, I love you, I love you, I love you, and hope that they can feel my love. We know as little about them. Perhaps we all have this inborn, even if untapped, desire for the ocean. Those who don't like swimming is usually enjoyed staring at it or collecting little treasures split by its waves into the shores. Let's consider the fact that the first 9 months of our human lives we are spent submerged in liquid, not like salt water, and that in fact we all become life as swimmers. It is possible that our bodies remember to adapt to life underwater. Harley says yes, we all have a little seal inside us, waiting to remember. It is because our bodies have special reflexes that were developed from the very beginning, and together we call the mammalian diving reflex. I listened amazed as Heidi described the changes in her body during the free dive. You start with a few powerful strokes. The important part is trust. I have to trust myself. I move into a free fall and gravity takes over. It is my favorite part. When I know I was born to do this, first I feel my heart rate slowing down. Then the blood begins to flow towards my brain as my blood veins shrink.
Vessels?
My blood vessels shrink.
Perfect.
My spleen, a little sponge, contracts and squirts hemoglobin into my blood, and then oxygen-rich blood cells are pumped into my heart, lungs, and brain. Holly is an inspiration. Diving achievements aside, she is a deeply caring, deeply passionate person. Her love for water led her to establish the I Am Water organization. It is my way of giving back. The ocean may be the last wilderness. It may be large, but we need to treat it as if it's very small. Hold it like a baby, she expressed lovingly.
Very well done, Leanne. Excellent. The more you read aloud, the more confident you will be. Let's discuss what you found out regarding the rationale of conservation. Why do you think Ian Player, Lawrence Anthony, and Hanley Prinsloo became involved in nature conservation?
I believe it was due to their character or personality. They seem to be truly caring people. The fact that Ian Player was involved in nature conservation for his entire adult life, and the example of Lawrence Anthony risking his life to save the animals from the Baghdad Zoo, confirms that they are special people.
Absolutely. Very well done indeed. Okay. Let's think about the steps required to drafting your training material. Can you suggest a starting point?
One should consider and compile a list of the information the manual needs to cover. A list headings like land management, water and food, animal care, etc., followed by the outline or flow of the manual, which chapter flows which.
Very, very good. That's logical. Would you include an index from the list of chapters?
Yes, and possibility chapter summaries for quick reference.
Excellent. I suggest you gather a group of people around you to assist, and I would be happy to proofread as you progress.
Thanks, that makes sense.
Excellent. Basically, we have reviewed keywords that you will need when drawing up your training material, and you have answered a lot of questions regarding the meaning and application of these words. I can see that you are a subject matter expert. You have read 3 short articles related to nature conservation in South Africa. We have also brainstormed the process you will use to author your training material. Do you feel confident enough to write a draft on the material we covered today?
Yes, I think I do.
Do you have any questions?
No, thank you.
Excellent, Leanne. Please submit a draft of your training chapter on land management by Tuesday next week so that we can discuss in our next class. Good. Thanks for your time, and we'll chat to you soon.
Thanks. Bye for now.
Hi, Leanne. How are you today?
Hi, Greg. I'm well, thanks. Hope you are too.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm very well. How's your baby giraffe? Have you been able to see whether it's male or female yet?
The baby is getting stronger every day, but I have not yet get close enough to see the gender. The parents are very protective.
Excellent. Please let me know when you do. Today, I thought we could consider what land management means in your environment And by the end of the lesson, I would like you to be comfortable writing your first draft of that chapter for your training manual. I see that you've received the